everybody. I'm Eddie Stevens. I serve on the board of directors for the Center for Child Counseling, and today I am honored to present two very special awards. First, we'd like to acknowledge Laura Davis Smith, who has been selected as the Center for Child Counseling's 2020 recipient of the Jane Robinson Child Advocacy Award. This award is named after Jane Robinson, who founded the Center for Child Counseling in 1999. Jane has been an advocate for literally thousands of children. Laura is a board-certified attorney in Coral Gables. She's a principal with the firm Davis Smith and Jean LLC, and she's the past chair of the Family Law section. She's also a superb human being. The Center for Child Counseling selected Laura for this acknowledgement based on her advocacy efforts for children, both inside the courtroom and in our community. Laura, thank you and congratulations.
Well, thank you, Eddie. I can't believe this beautiful award was waiting for me in my office. And I am honored, to say the least, to have been awarded this. The Center for Child Counseling has been a special part of my heart since you introduced me to it, several years back. When I had the opportunity to co-sponsor an event to get the word out about ACEs. And as a person who has overcome those kinds of issues, it's important for me to give back to kids. And it is, the work that the center does is unparalleled, and I am so honored and proud. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura. And next, we'd like to acknowledge Dori Foster-Morales, who is the principal of Foster-Morales in Stone in Miami. She has been selected for the Center for Child Counseling's 2020 recipient of the Judge Ron Alvarez Resiliency Award. Judge Alvarez was a pioneer for creating a trauma-informed judiciary before we even understood the science and the impact of toxic stress on children and the impact of adverse childhood experiences on society. Dori is the most current president of the Florida Bar, and she has made it her mission to bring mental health and wellness awareness to the forefront of its 107,000 members. Dori is truly creating a trauma-informed bar. Dori, congratulations and thank you.
I'm so flattered and appreciative and honored to receive this beautiful commendation. I also have to commend you and the center for all the work you do for the families in Florida. Children are our future. We say that, but unless we have healthy children, we're not going to have a healthy society, and you understand that in the deepest of ways. And I'm so excited to be here to talk about mental health, and so appreciative of the work you and the center does for everyone in the state of Florida. So thank you so much.
Well, I'd like to thank you both for joining us today and being the keynote speakers for our second Family Law Mental Health Summit. And I wanted to have a round table discussion with the both of you to discuss some of these topics and get your thoughts. And the first question, I guess, would be, how do you all deal with the stress of this occupation and the pandemic that we're currently suffering through?
Dori, I don't know if you want to start.
Why don't you start, Laura?
Okay. So I find that for me, exercise is hugely important in managing my mental health and well-being. And it was a difficult start to the pandemic in that there was, gym closures, so I wasn't able to go and work out as much as I had been. I've been blessed with a Peloton, which arrived at the beginning of this month, and I have ridden, as of last night, 37 times. So you can see I'm making up for lost time. But I think that exercise and that release of endorphins is such an important part of handling stress for me, and I think also for so many others.
Dori?
Well, I do think exercise is important, and I've been running during the pandemic, and I had created a little Facebook running group with some of my pals to keep me motivated. But I also just think, actually, going to see a therapist is a great idea. And, you know, we all talk about eating healthy and exercise, but I still think there's a lot of stigma to saying, I see a therapist and I see a therapist. So that helps me to stay balanced. It gives me a place to deal with my stresses and anxieties. You know, my family and I all believe in getting help. And, you know, it's not every day that we deal with a pandemic, and the stresses are not just on us, but as family lawyers, the additional stresses on our clients who are already going through a very stressful situation. And we are truly the people that are, you know, shuttling them through this difficult time in their lives. So recognizing that this, you know, incredible additional stress on us based on just what our clients are going through, not to mention, as we all were discussing a little earlier, what our own families are going through, the stresses of kids in school, not in school, the stresses our children are feeling, our spouses are feeling. I mean, these are really unprecedented times. So I encourage folks not just to eat well and drink plenty of water and get exercise. I think those are all really important, but, you know, find a good therapist, you know, that you can speak to once a week, twice a week, whatever, once a month. I think it's a great way to deal with stress.
Speaking of that, Dori, are you aware of any new resources the Florida Bar has for attorneys to maybe talk to a therapist?
So, you know, that was one of the really exciting things that we rolled out in May. I was sworn in virtually as president of Florida Bar on June 19th, and the plan had been that starting July 1st, we would have this new mental health line. But as soon as the pandemic hit, we realized immediately that lawyers were going to be under a lot more stress. And I've been going to town hall meetings across the state, by Zoom, of course, and the stress level of lawyers has really significantly increased. We rolled out this mental wellness line, and it is manned 24/7 or femaled. It was by licensed mental health counselors. It's a 24/7 hotline, helpline that is free to our members, free and totally confidential. And I really want to stress the confidentiality, because there are a lot of people that don't really buy the confidentiality, but let me tell you how confidential it is. I was thinking at the beginning, I'd like to know what people are calling about, so I know what kind of services to provide my members. So I asked the bar staff to find out just what are the type of calls we're getting, not who called and how they called and what time they called, but literally what type of things are we hearing about. And I was told, sorry, we can't tell you. So it's totally confidential, it's totally free, and they will recommend and refer you to up to 3 free mental health counseling sessions with a private therapist. So it's the 24/7 call line plus therapy for free, confidential. I really hope our lawyers, especially our family lawyers, take the bar up on this great new program.
And before the pandemic hit, we were a pretty stressed out profession. In fact, the stats showed we had about 19% of us lawyers suffered from anxiety, 23% suffered from stress, 28% depression, 36% suffered some type of alcohol abuse, and unfortunately for suicide, lawyers are in one of the top 10 professions. Do you have any comments, and we'll start with Laura this time, on creating a healthy work-life balance?
That is a very, very important question, and one that we could talk about for days. But I think that the most important thing, in addition to what Dori said about therapy and the free health line, which is so timely and needed, I think it's important for all of us to give ourselves the grace to understand that there's no perfect and there's no requirement to be perfect. And I think as lawyers, we spend so much time worrying about getting the case where it needs to be and pleasing the client, and also, you know, pleasing the judge and having a good relationship with opposing counsel. And that is before we even talk about how we manage our family life. So I think that there is a need for, as I said, grace that we give to ourselves. And that includes giving ourselves the permission. If we have anxiety, we talk to somebody about it, and we take medication if that's important, and it's not a shameful thing. And if we can lessen the shame of imperfection and recognize that all of us are imperfect, I think that would go a long way. That's just a thought that I think if more people could hear that and own it, I think that would help quite a lot. I mean, there's no perfect mother, there's no perfect lawyer, there's no perfect judge, there's no perfect anything. So
it seems if you break your arm, you go to the doctor and they just fix it, and there's no stigma with that. Yet our society has created this incredible stigma about mental health and seeking appropriate treatment, and really that's a necessity to have a healthy life. Dori,
yeah, I agree.
Dori, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's part of our professional responsibility to be mentally healthy. I think we're better lawyers if we're mentally healthy. And I want to point out when we talk about this, that the studies really show that making more money doesn't make you happy. Having the biggest client doesn't make you happy. I mean, there've been lots of studies on this. And one of the things that really provides a lot of gratification is giving back. So it's the internal things. So the externals like money and success and all those things and the accolades, they're nice, but most, some of our most successful lawyers have committed suicide. So it's not that. So what they show is that, and I always laugh because it was like, well, getting the job at the big law firm or being on law review, none of those things were really available to me because I didn't have those kind of grades and I wasn't that kind of law student. But I think, so I always say, thank God, maybe I'm really happy because the expectations were so low when I graduated. But the truth is, that I think that being grateful for what you have, that's proven to be something that really helps your mental health and helps you to balance. Just waking up every morning and saying, boy, it's a beautiful sunny day, or what a yummy cup of coffee I'm drinking, whatever it is you're grateful for. And number two, that you sort of figure out something that makes you feel good. That's really has nothing to do with work. And it makes it easier to balance when you see what else is going on in the world that, you can help with. And it helps you, I think, to balance those issues. Having said that, if you ask my office, they would tell you that I don't have a very good home life, work-life balance, and I probably don't practice what I preach right now.
Have you all done anything specific during the pandemic to make sure your clients and your staff and yourself are healthy? Laura, you want to take that one?
Anything in particular? Not beyond what the recommendations of Dr. Fauci have been, which we have employed. There have been opportunities for, working at home, recognizing that it is difficult for everyone, accommodating clients on weekends and different times in the evenings, especially when school was ending, and I'm sure it's going to happen again now that school is starting back up again, when people are at home trying to homeschool their children and also working, and they need to fit in their appointments with their attorneys. And the same goes for my business partner and I. We're both working mothers, and it is a real balancing act. So it's making allowances for time for rest, time for work, and to acknowledge that this is a crazy time and we need to step back, take a pause, and really rank the importance of certain things. So,
Dori, did you have anything to add to that?
So there are three words that I keep going back to. We need to be patient. And so I've tried to be patient with everyone. When people are stressed out, I try to, take a deep breath before I respond. We need to be flexible because this pandemic has created stresses that we couldn't have anticipated that require a lot of flexibility, and we need to be creative in our solutions. So every morning I wake up and I say, how can I be more patient, more flexible, and more creative? And when I look at it that way, I'm less anxious. And the truth is, and I don't know how it is for everyone else, but at the beginning of the pandemic, I was really amped up and anxious. I have a staff that I feel responsible towards, an office that I feel responsible towards. And would the firm have the ability to generate the revenues to support it in its current form? I was really anxious. And what I found out was by being patient, creative, and flexible, it worked, at least for us. Now, I know that probably 35% of our members, more or less, that's what I'm hearing, have a reduced income. And so I recognize, depending on the practice you're in, that you have more or less of an ability to do that. But I think family lawyers, if you go with those 3 words, you will really be able to withstand the pandemic. And those are words you use with your family, your friends, your clients, and your staff.
I've been using some of this time to further my own education, and I started taking a class on Buddhism, and one of the major concepts was struggling with impermanence. And we learn everything is impermanent, and the thing that causes us the anxiety is not the impermanence, but our reaction to that impermanence. And if we change our reaction, it could really lessen the anxiety that's associated with that event. So that's one of the things that has really helped me during this pandemic. And also just doing things like taking a class and taking this opportunity to self-improve. Dora, you've been visiting with all of the circuits in Florida. Have you hit all 20 yet?
No, I mean, I committed to hitting 20 in August and September. So I started August 5th, and my last one so far was on August 26th, and I've had 10 of them. And they're actually, it's a little bit more of a challenge than I thought it would be. It's a lot of work, but I'm getting a lot of really interesting feedback. And some of the areas where I thought people would be the most stressed out, and that would be areas of like the new technology and the new way of practicing law, that's not turning out to be the biggest stress. The biggest stress that I'm hearing about, I would say, is the top 3 are isolation, practice stability, and home life, work-life balance. So, I don't hear per se that childcare is an issue. It is a focus of some folks, but those are the 3 big things. And it's sort of the things that I think we need to understand, that people feel isolated, and how can we do better with that individually and from a societal standpoint. I think the stability of the practices, the anxiety of finances, and also because we do these Zoom polls, about 35% of our members are making less money. So all of those things fit together. And the flip side is I'm hearing incredible stories of resilience of our court system, of cooperation and collaboration among the stakeholders, the lawyers, the judges, the clerks, and the voluntary bars coming together, because I bring all the voluntary bars on. And so, and at the end of my town hall meetings, I don't want to give it away, but I do like my takeaway is always, tell me the most positive thing that's come out of the pandemic, because we know there have been incredible struggles and difficulties. My husband runs a city. I mean, the city that he runs is run really primarily on visitor and convention bureau dollars. So those he was excited when he learned that he thought he would see a 75% drop. And that's a big revenue drop. It was only 70%. So that was the silver lining, right? So I just think that it's not just private sector. It's not just public sector. All of society is feeling this. So, what I'm hearing from the town halls is really, I think, mirrored in what we're seeing in society.
I'd like to turn that question around on you, Dori, and ask both of you what good things that you have seen come out of this pandemic.
Well, I'll go first.
Laura?
I have seen people developing hobbies that they didn't know they had the desire to pursue. For example, indoor plants. Some people, like myself, have become obsessed with growing things to make our surroundings beautiful and healthy. I happen to know quite a lot of people have been attempting to make sourdough bread. It's not as easy as it sounds. And the pulling together of families and the realization that now matters. You know, we hear all the time, live in the present, be in the present moment. Really, that is a truth, and to recognize it, I think, is a big gift, to realize that we can be with our families and stay healthy and be supportive of each other. And it's only going to, you know, reflect outward like the sun's rays to the people surrounding us. So I think for me, that's been the most important thing, is to really recognize the need to live in the present and be grateful for the things that are positive, like that opportunity that we've been presented with.
Dori?
So personally, I'm sure there have been lots of great things that came out of this pandemic for, you know, on societal levels. But for me, I learned that I could work at home. I mean, I'm a pretty hard charging lawyer. Most people know that. And I never thought I could work at home. And I can work at home. And that, you know, the pandemic required me to be flexible to be able to do that. And that's been great, because quite frankly, this week I've been working mostly at home. When I dropped my son off at college, we spent a week in North Carolina, and I did town hall meetings and I did work. And so learning that I could train my brain to work at home. And the other thing is, who would have ever thought I could do a whole evidentiary hearing with a client in Bolivia, you know, and another lawyer, you know, lawyers in Fort Lauderdale, client in Bolivia, another party in Louisiana, without, you know, travel and, you know, the schlepping the boxes to the courthouse. And I think it's been remarkable how we have pivoted. And I will tell you, I'm going to be the first to tell you, and probably not the last to tell you, it's not going to change. I am confident that non-evidentiary hearings, by and large, are going to proceed in the future virtually. I think people are longing to get back to the courthouse. I'm glad we have the platforms to do what we can do, and we can keep the third branch of government moving forward. But I just think it's been remarkable. You know, if you've ever watched anything about the courts and technology, they are slow to move. And there's nothing like a pandemic to get the engines roaring on technology. So I think, you know, for me personally, the fact that I could do things that I didn't think I could do, and to see the courts pivot the way they have is pretty remarkable.
The acceptance of technology, and I'm so impressed at how the judiciary has responded, because at least in Palm Beach County, we had very little downtime, and we were doing Zoom hearings almost immediately. And while everybody struggled a little bit at first, at this point, I think I've done 40 court appearances with full trials, including one trial that had about 40 different exhibits that we were able to maneuver throughout the day. And the productivity and the fact that I don't have to drive to the courthouse and wait and get there 15 minutes early, I see that is a huge cost savings for our clients, because they're not just paying us to show up at the courthouse. And while I think it's a better presentation to be in front of a judge, and I've always avoided phone-in appearances, because I think it's important to be there. But with the pandemic and these forced changes, I think it's good to adapt, and that adoption that certainly has some financial benefits for everybody.
Eddie, I want to just jump in and say I want to add one point about what you're saying, because I think it's the one thing that we all need to be very focused on. The fact is, we're going to have to change the way we schedule our lives, though, because as much as we're able to schedule back-to-back Zoom hearings, we need pockets of time to decompress and go to the next step. And I find that the scheduling is going to be different, because you just can't, just because you can physically turn off a screen and turn on another screen, you still need a moment to breathe. So my recommendation is, because I would say that's one of the biggest challenges for me, is that people pack my day and give me no time in between. And it used to be, you walked to court, you chit-chatted with some people, and even if you went from one hearing to another, there was like mental downtime or drive time or whatever. I have people scheduling me to meet with a legislator, and then literally, like, immediately starting a town hall meeting. And I've said to people, look, we're not avatars. We need natural breaks. So I think that's the one challenge that we're going to need to really work on.
Well, I think we have time for one more question for you all, and I do appreciate both of your times in spending this moment with us today. Do you have any other things that you would like to address about the topic before we let everybody go? And I'll start with Laura on this one.
Anything additional? No, I think that the key is to really be aware as much as you can of your own thoughts and what your needs are with respect to taking care of yourself and those around you. We as family lawyers have a lot of responsibility, not only to ourselves, but also to our clients. And as I mentioned before, our children. And it's critically important to listen to what we need and to ask for it, and to take the offers of help that are being presented to us by way of the anonymous self-help line, for example. This is an unprecedented time. We are here. We are alive. Those of us, who have survived this COVID-19, and we have lessons to learn from it. And I think that we need to make ourselves as healthy as the flight attendants say. If we get back on planes, put your own oxygen mask on first, so you can be of help to others.
So I'm going to end with a shameless plug, and the shameless plug is, people, there's a lot more information and assistance available to you from the Florida Bar than people realize. So for example, we have a special COVID-19 webpage, and I know Laura's on the task force, and thank you, Laura, for accepting that appointment. Very important to me to have you on that committee. And there's a lot of information that will make your life easier. So one of the things is, don't be such a fighter pilot. There's help out there, whether it's for CLE credits. So if you go to the Florida Bar webpage, and there's like a little banner running across, it says, COVID-19. And it's got all the information from all the different circuits and from the Supreme Court. It's got special CLEs. It's got employment opportunities for people who need employment opportunities. There's so much information. It brings you to CLEs, wellness tips, breathing tips. I mean, the YLD, the Young Lawyers Division, is going to do a whole month on breathing. And, take a moment to breathe. But go to the website. We're really trying to provide resources and assistance, and avail yourself of those fees that you pay to the Florida Bar. Thank you.
This brings an end to the second annual Family Law Mental Health Summit presented by the Center for Child Counseling. We'd like to thank all of our speakers today, and we hope to see you again next year. Be safe and do something that matters.